up, y'all? I'm back with another book review. If you haven't watched any of my videos before, my name is Maniko, and at some point I'm gonna come up with a cute little catchphrase for my book review videos, because that's not all I post, but that's what y'all about to watch right now. So it's been about 2 months since I've posted a book review, but your girl has been reading. Okay, I've been reading more than I read over the summer, damn near, which is something that I did not think would happen because I am an educator. And once we went back to school, I just didn't think that I was gonna have much time to read. But when I tell y'all, I barely watch TV these days, and I've noticed that because I'm watching less TV, I'm able to read more. So truly love that for me. If you are struggling with being able to find time for reading, cut that TV off. Cut it off. If you are on Goodreads, add me. I have my little reading challenge that I'm doing here. My goal is to read 30 books this year, which is actually a very low number, but considering as how I didn't actually read my first book of the year until March, I think I'm doing fairly well with having already read 24, and technically I've read 25 because I just finished one last night. Here's the books that I've read since the last time that I probably did that video. In the last video, dang, I'm trying to zoom in and see the cover. I can't see. Anyway, so I've read all of the Housemaid series. I finished the Children of, Anguish, Anarchy, all those books. I've read To Kill a Mockingbird, again, because I feel like we all read that in high school. I read Tainted Liberties, Love on the Ninth Floor, It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us, Butcher and Blackbird, Go Set a Watchman, Black Cake, Before I Let Go, This Could Be Us. And I read, which I just finished yesterday, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So I've picked like 4 of those books. Oh, and 7 Days in June. I didn't even put that on here. See, I don't even be putting all the books on here like I need to do, but it's okay, I'm gonna get to it. So I'm gonna review some of the books that I've read, and yeah, hopefully I can do this a little bit more regularly. So up first, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. 10 out of 10 book. This book I really truly loved. It told a great story, and although I did not have any direct experience with what the people in the story were going through, somehow it still felt relatable because the book was written by a Black woman and the characters are Black people, and me being a Black person, I can relate with a lot of the things that they say, the way they say it, the dialogue, just the culture was really evident in this story, and I loved it. I loved it. So just to read the summary for y'all, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Actually, I'm not gonna read it at all because I already know what it's about. Basically, like the title says, 7 Days in June, there are 2 people that come across each other. They used to know each other in a different lifetime. They spent 7 days together years ago. Now they're both authors. They come across each other, and then it's like another 7 days where it's just back to kind of what was happening. But now that they're grown, it makes it a lot easier in a way. I can't go too much into detail because then I give away the story, but it's such a good story. Like, I really feel like I cried at the end, and there's not too many books that make me cry, but this story was so beautiful. So I would definitely highly suggest reading 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This was the first book that I read by her, but I guarantee it will not be the last, okay? Shout out to her. That was a good book. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. This was a good book. It just wasn't what I typically read, and honestly, when I buy books, I usually buy them based off of what the cover art looks like. I don't too often read a synopsis or a summary of what the book is about. I know that's probably weird because it's like, well, then how do you know you want to read it? But most of these books back here, I did not read anything about them before I bought them, and I've pretty much liked all of them. There's only been a handful of books that I just really wasn't into. But it wasn't that I wasn't into this book, but it just wasn't something that like fully entertained me because it was very gory, like, and then just, again, the culture that these people belong to, the people in this story were white, their culture and how they do things and how I do things, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess. But pretty much, I think I'll give this a 7 out of 10. In this book, there are 2 serial killers that are basically like the Robin Hood serial killers because they kill other serial killers. They meet each other, they pair up, and then they start killing other serial killers together. But they fall in love along the way. So overall, it was a good story. I don't know that I would spend more money to read the rest of the trilogy. Low-key, because I got that little Target sticker on there, so Target know I got it from there. I might take this book back to Target, return it, or exchange it for the second book. And then that way I can just keep reading the trilogy without having to spend more money on it. I know that's real cheap, but one thing I don't play about is my coin. So anyway, next up, It Ends With Us. I really don't have to say too much about this book. I feel like literally everybody and their mama has read the book or at least seen the movie. But honestly, the book is the best. Damn near 12 out of 10. Incomparable with the movie. I don't know what the movie had going on. Don't get me started. I feel like I want to do a whole series on books that made it to the big screen, because there's so many books that have made it to Netflix and Hulu and the movie theaters, and I prefer to read the book first. I want to know exactly how the story was supposed to be, because y'all know once it gets on that screen, they be dramatizing it, they be adding shit, taking shit out, and then it's just like, damn, whose story is this, you know? But this was a really good book despite how the movie ended up being. I would definitely read this again because I really, really liked it. It talks a lot about domestic violence, and October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So for all the women or men that are watching this and may be experiencing any sort of domestic violence, please know that there are people that will help you, people that care about you. I know it may not feel like you have any people in your corner or feel like you can trust people or tell people what's going on in your life. But if anything, message me, comment to me. I will talk to you. I'm not going to judge. I am not going to talk down on you. But my main goal is to make sure that I help somebody every day. Like, that's just what I want to do. So if you are experiencing any form of domestic violence, I will make sure to put some information in the comments for you to look into if you need support. Moving along to the sequel to It Ends With Us is It Starts With Us. And I don't really know what I expected it to be. Honestly, I didn't read the summary, but we ain't need this. We ain't need this at all. 7 out of 10 on the story. Good story, nice story. They put a little bow, tied it up real nice, the end. But it wasn't needed. Like, I think it ended so well previously, but Colleen Hoover, who is the author of this book, she said in her acknowledgments that book talk and YouTube and social media period, like, people wanted to know how the main characters' stories ended. Like, they wanted to know what happened. So she was essentially bullied into producing this second story. So again, it was nice to kind of have a final ending, to know how the characters ended up. But it's just like, oh, okay, you know, it was cute or whatever. It wasn't really needed, but I get why she did it. So just finished reading this book yesterday, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This book is also a part of a trilogy, and I actually do have all 3 of the books. I bought them as like a bundle deal from Target. I bought all my books from Target. This book was pretty good. It gave like young adult book. Like, I guess what I mean by that is that it wasn't super mature. It wasn't super intense. It didn't seem like it took a lot of I don't know, it didn't seem like it took much to create the story, although not trying to discredit the author at all. I think it's a great book, but it just wasn't as mature as some of the other books I've read. It definitely seems like something I would have read in high school, or shit, maybe even middle school, low key. But this is a true murder mystery. So one thing that I did love about this book is that it was not predictable. I can't stand when I read a book or I watch something and after like 2 minutes I'm like, oh, he killed him. They did it. But with this one, you think you know, but you really don't. It's so many potential people, and that's what makes it really interesting. So I am going to give this a 7 out of 10 as well, because it was a very good story. The plot was wonderful. I really like how she wrote it, and I think that I'm going to enjoy reading the next 2 books, hopefully, because if not, y'all know I will return it. The last book that I'm going to talk about is Black Cake, and I'm actually letting a friend borrow that one, so I'm going to insert a picture right here in this area. But Black Cake is a book that I absolutely loved. I truly loved that book. So the reason that I decided to read it is because I had seen it on Hulu. I didn't actually watch this show, but I saw like the preview for it, and like when it first came out, I heard people talking about it. But I was like, no, this was based off a book. I need to read the book first. Like, that's just how I operate. So I was like, okay, let me buy the book. But I really didn't buy the book until like 2 months ago. So like way late. I don't know why I waited so long, but I'm so glad I decided to read that book. Definitely 12 out of 10. Highly recommend. Okay, B&B. I'm sorry. The main characters in the book, Benny and Byron, are two kids. Well, they're not kids, but they're two adults who have just lost their mother. And their mother had this entire life, this entire secret life that she left before they were born. And so the story, the book, is essentially them listening to these recordings that their mother left them, explaining who she truly is and what her life was like before they were ever even thought of. And there's so many different things that they learn along the way. And every chapter I was like, ooh, dang, this is good. And so I was like, yeah, I gotta watch the show ASAP. And so one thing that I can say is that so far, the show seems to be right in line with the book. Now, I haven't made it super far into the series. Actually, I think I have maybe 2 or 3 episodes left. There's only a few discrepancies, like a few major discrepancies. And although I didn't necessarily care for the way they changed it, it did help the story when you're watching it. So it makes sense visibly when you're watching it in the show, but in the book it was a little bit different. But I get, for show purposes, they only have so much time for an episode, so they have to play it out in ways that make you get to the point, but sometimes just take a different route. And so I wasn't too mad at the way that they changed it, because it did still work well with the story, and the story was still phenomenal even on the show. So I can say it's one of a handful of shows that I've watched that have actually been very, very, very similar to the actual book. One of my other favorites of all time is Lovecraft Country. Got that book right up there too. I read that book, I'm not even sure when I read it, well before the show came out as well, but I think learning that there was going to be a show is what made me buy it. That book is amazing. 200 out of 10, okay? But the show was also great. Like, the show was great. But one thing that I've noticed, one similarity that I've drawn between the Lovecraft Country show and Black Cake show, both were canceled after 1 season. Now, Lovecraft Country was technically supposed to be a limited series anyway, I think, but because of how good it was, people wanted it to continue into another season. But if there's only so much book, that means that now the author of that book has to either create more material or has to, you know, allow the directors and the writers to then create more material. And I could see how that could get a little messy. But when it comes to Black Cake, a lot of people were disappointed, because that cancellation announcement was just made like in the past week or two. A lot of people were disappointed, but I feel like it's more of the same. Like, this book is only so long. There's only so much that's in the book. But I also haven't finished the series. So maybe the series doesn't end where the book ends. So I am interested to see that. Lastly, I just want to shout out some Black authors that I have had the pleasure of reading their books. I was contacted on TikTok by a Black-owned book publishing company, and they asked me if I would be able to read 2 of their books, 2 of their authors' books, to just kind of review them. So the name of the publishing company is Black Odyssey Media. You can follow them on TikTok. I'm sure they have Instagram, other social media, but I personally was in contact with them on Instagram. So I read 2 books by them. One was called Love on the Ninth Floor, and the other book was called Tainted Liberties. So I do have a review of Tainted Liberties on my TikTok. I'm not gonna go into that again. I will put a picture of the book right here. It was a really, really good book. I actually was very surprised by that. Not to say that I didn't expect it to be good, but sometimes when you hear about independently owned companies, sometimes the content or the product that's put out isn't as like high quality as something that's published by, you know, all these other big agencies. But it was a really good book. I did receive these books for free, but they were like PDF versions of the book, like online through Book Funnel. So they weren't like physical copies. But Love on the Ninth Floor, picture of that here, was also a fairly good book as well. I think I liked Tainted Liberties a little bit better just because of the different topics that it was able to bring attention to. I love a book that can serve multiple purposes, okay? Because we are all in this together. But yeah, that concludes my book review. Hopefully you liked it too. That's a little corny, but what you gonna do about it? Nothing. Why am I like this? I'm gonna work on posting book reviews more often, so please leave me a comment and let me know what you wanna know. If any of these books intrigued you, interested you, and you have additional questions about them, please drop a comment and let me know. If there's any book that you're interested for me to review, let me know that too, because I'm always looking for an excuse to buy another book, okay? Hence the collection that I'm forming. Also, if you just happen to, you know, like maybe be a book publisher, author or something, and you're watching this and you want to send me your book to review, do that. I'll do it. I'll do it. So thanks for watching and see y'all next time.